Welcome to the Hear You Out podcast, where every opinion is heard and never judged. Your host, Jesus, will have his guests of opposite opinions on a topic sit and discuss their views, but they can't make stuff up, because if they do, well, someone's getting called out. So get ready for the roller coaster. And get your popcorn ready, because this will get heated.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hear You Out podcast, episode one of many. We are going to have so many topics that are going to make some people pull their hair out, topics that are going to anger people, topics that may potentially get us taken off of social media, brought back and forth. It's going to happen. But at the end of the day, we really want to be able to hear every side of it. I'm going to let it be known right now. This is for all my listeners, and this is probably not the best thing to do when you're opening up a new podcast, but this is how I truly feel. If you want me to cancel someone out, if you don't want to hear both sides, if you believe in cancel culture, I'm going to ask you to please exit either stage left or stage right, because on this show, it's all about hearing both sides. I want to understand it. We're not here to convince one person about their beliefs, another person about other beliefs. It's about just understanding why they feel the way they do. With that being said, I want to go ahead. I want to introduce my great, amazing crew. I want to start it off with my producer, my man, Gabe.
Hey, what's up, man? It's gonna be a fun one. I appreciate all the listeners coming out. Appreciate you guys, letting people share their opinions. It's gonna be a nice one.
Absolutely. So next up, I want to go ahead. I want to introduce one of my researchers, Junior. Welcome, Junior.
Good. June Rodriguez here. I'm one of the researchers here. Just hoping this goes nice and straight. If not, we're gonna call you out.
And whenever we're talking to heavy topics that hit the heart and hit home, and we know people are very, very can easily get offended. We can't get by with just one researcher. We got to get two. We got to get two to keep everyone on their toes. So I want to go ahead. I want to introduce my main man, Steve, on the show as well.
How's it going, everybody? It's a pleasure to be here. Really excited about the podcast, the show. I'm excited to really validate, and I'll just give out a quick point because I know you guys out there in the audience are thinking like, well, what type of research are they doing? Are they leaning more left or right? I will tell you this. Myself and Junior, we are looking for the middle. We are looking at .gov sites. We're looking at trying to find like actual executive orders, word for word speeches. So when we call something out, we will try. Obviously, we will give you guys the source of what we're calling it out and the website from. But also, if we can't find and we find something from another article or whatnot, we will provide that as well to provide context. So really excited about the show. I'm excited about our topic today. And I'll kick it back to you, man.
Man, I feel like absolutely. I gotta do my research. I feel like I gotta go do my intro all over now.
You're okay, Judy. You're okay,
I know.
Man. So we're good. I think it's very key, right? We, Junior and Steve, are not fact checkers. I want to make that extremely clear. Fact checkers are completely different. These two are researchers. They're going to hear the information, and we all know it's going to be a whole lot of information. They're going to research that information as it's being said. So what does that mean? That probably means, guess what? They may not catch everything. So I'm going to let everybody know right now, everything may not be caught because this show is happening live. We are going live. We are having a human conversation. And whatever is not caught, we will do our best to go ahead and make sure we recap at the end of the show, at the end of the episode, what potentially was missed so we can right the wrong. We will do our best to catch it live. But again, I just want to be very clear to everyone. There is a lot of information. There's a lot of research that needs to be confirmed. So with that being said, we're going to talk about what today's topic is. What is one of the most polarizing figures out there right now in this world? Who is one of the most polarizing figures? Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump. And it's one of two ways. There's usually not more than one of two ways. You either like the man or you absolutely despise the man. There's no in between, it seems like these days. So what did I do? I did some digging. Gabe did some digging. Junior did some digging. Steve did some digging. And we said, let's get a person that absolutely can't stand the man and let's get someone that actually supports the man. Get them together, sit down, have a conversation, ask them tough questions. Most importantly, when they express their opinions, they will not be judged. I want to make that very, very clear. They absolutely will not be judged. They will have an opportunity to express their opinions. But if it's not accurate, I'm making it very clear. Here's a sound you hear if it's not accurate. If you're completely wrong, here's another sound you're going to hear. If you say something that's completely outlandish, that makes no sense, no verification whatsoever, here's something else you're going to hear. But I also want to say, if you say something that hits the heart, that hits home, that makes me feel a woman fuzzy inside, this is what you're going to hear. So it's all about love in here. We want to hear the good. We want to hear the conversation. We want to be able to understand. We are not trying to convince anybody, but I personally want to learn. And I want to show everyone, not just in this country, but in this world, that it's okay to disagree. For some reason, we've lost our way. We've lost our way completely. It's no longer okay to disagree with people. It's now you either agree with me or I'm canceling you out. Not on this show, not on Hear You Out podcast, where all opinions are heard, period. Now I'm gonna go ahead and introduce my amazing guest. I want to first go ahead and introduce my pro-Trump person. He's a pastor from St. Pete. He's a barber from St. Pete. He's a teacher from St. Pete. Benny Reyes.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Appreciate you inviting me on. I'm looking forward to this. I really am.
Awesome. Now, we have someone here who's just not too much of a fan of Donald Trump. If you guys can see him right now, you see him, he's stretching. He's ready to go. He looks like he's getting ready for a boxing match. I don't know what's happening here. He told me he wanted me to introduce him one specific way. So I want to be very clear. These words that I'm about to say are not coming from me. They're coming directly from him. He is a Black 40-year-old social worker from North Jersey, Mr. Anthony Austin Jr.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Yeah, clap it up. There you go. Appreciate the applause. Thank you for allowing me on your show. It's not a competition. We just want to make sure that I get my points off, he gets his points off, and I think I'm hopeful that we find a middle ground in all this.
That's the hope.
Sure.
That's the hope. So
sure.
a couple quick rules, right? Let's try to keep the profanity out of it. Anthony, I know that's gonna be hard for you, my man.
It's easy.
All love though. No, but we're gonna try to keep it clean. Again, no judgment. Even if it's something that's outlandish, let us take care of it. We will make sure we call out something if it just doesn't seem right. And again, if we miss it, we promise we will do our very best to right that wrong. But with that being said, I want to open it up to these questions. I want to ask my questions. I want to be able to really get an understanding. So, Benny, I want to start it off with you, okay?
Okay, sure.
This is specifically about Trump. Mm-hmm. What would you say is the main reason for your support of the former president, Donald Trump?
It's funny because I only voted for him once. I didn't vote for him in 2016. So I wasn't, I guess, quote unquote, pro-Trump until the end of last year, towards like closer to the summertime. Once COVID hit, once we had the quarantine for the first time after spring, that's when I started kind of doing my own research. And the reason, if you go back to all my Facebook posts from 2016, all 3 years, even in that fourth year, they were all negative against Trump. I actually hated the man before he became president, and I hated him when he became president. When he became president, I was angry. My posts were, like I said, just very anti-Trump. So my reasoning, what changed was I started noticing that the media just has us minorities as dummies. Like they just put stuff out there and everybody just kind of takes it in like sheep. So I just first thing I started noticing was just the out of context press conferences, like things that the news would say. And I went back and I actually started, I was like, as a joke, would start watching his press conference for myself before the media had time to chop it up and, take things and look how he talked to the reporter and looked at this. I started listening to the man. And it was actually like, yes, he was disrespectful. he's not a politician. That's what a lot of people don't understand. And that's where I started relating to him more, because as a pastor, I'm not the traditional type of orthodox type of pastor. You know what I mean? Like, I'll bring it to people relevant and raw, the way that I feel that it will connect with the culture. And I feel like, first of all, Donald Trump is from Queens. You know what I mean? Like, he's straightforward. He's a New Yorker. He's gonna come straightforward. He's just gonna tell you how it is. He's not a politician. He wasn't president material, but the way he dealt with the people, like, people just had a hard time, like, oh, he's just rude, and he just comes off. He wasn't a politician, so he wasn't your traditional type. So that's what started it for me. And then on top of that, what really set it off, and I'll cut it here, is once they started blaming the cages on him, and I took that in too. Like, wow, look at him, like, these kids are in cages, they're being separated from the family. Look, and this man just he don't care, this and that. And then I found out that the cages were actually, and you can I'm glad we got the fact, or not the fact checkers, but I'm glad we got the researchers. But correct me if I'm wrong, the cages were actually during the Obama administration, were okayed during that administration before Donald J. Trump became president.
They're looking it up.
So
they're looking it up. No worries.
Okay.
They're looking it up. Keep going.
I didn't.
We'll get back to that. We'll get back to that.
Okay. All right. But so just let me know how much. If I don't want to take up too much time.
Nah, just keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
We'll get back to that. Yeah.
So basically, that's what it was for me. And it was funny because I got most of my friends, if not a lot of my close friends, are Democrats. We were on these group chats on Messenger, and like sending each other things like, look at this man, I can't stand this racist man, and this and that. So other stuff that started coming out, especially about the racism, like, I had a hard time when he started tossing the paper towels in Puerto Rico. Like, I was angry because I'm like, man, this man is just he's a billionaire. He's coming into my island, just being just mad disrespectful. Like, look how he just don't care, But then I started realizing, like, I'm taking it based off of what the news was feeding me. And that's what it was, the news was basically saying, one thing, and taking certain clips out of his press conferences and all these other things out of context, and then using it against them or whatever. And started realizing that a lot of these news outlets are left wing. I don't like using those terms because I'm not really a political type of person, but a lot of these news outlets, they, like Cuomo's brother, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the people from, I don't know if it's CNN, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, it's very one-sided. So when I started actually looking into it for myself, I'm like, he didn't say Mexicans are rapists. He didn't say they're killers. He was talking about the MS-13 gang that was within the caravans that were coming in. He specifically said the MS-13 gang were the rapists and the killers. And then the media just takes it out and says, oh, he called all Mexicans, rapists and killers, So that's what started changing my perspective, my opinion. And then slowly it just started leaning more towards that side. So like I said, I wasn't always, pro-Trump. I don't have a Trump flag. I don't have a MAGA hat. I don't have any shirt, no merchandise. You know what I'm saying? I just started seeing things differently when it came to, who I was supporting politically.
That's understood. So Benny, if I'm just kind of like put a bow on your thoughts, because I think it's pretty clear. From what I'm understanding is you feel that it's almost you didn't want to become a sheep to the news. You wanted to do your own fact. You wanted to, right? Let's use the word fact checking. Right now we can use it. You wanted to do your own fact checking. You wanted to do the research for yourself, and that's what brought you to feel as if, you know what, they're predisposing us to not liking this man, as opposed to me making my own decision to not liking this man. Am I putting words in your mouth, or is that kind of how you felt?
No. That's exactly how I felt. And like I said, that was at the end of, towards March, April, we were in quarantine. I don't watch TV, but I had a lot of time while I was off of work and at home when we were in quarantine to watch the news and actually see these things for myself before I saw clips on Facebook of how they took things out of context. So yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I wanted to see it for myself. I'm like, I got a lot of hatred for this man and somebody asked me like, why everything I was saying was what was being fed to me by the media outlets.
So Steve, go ahead, Gabe. I want you to go ahead because we got a powerful statement that I think that was really accurate that he just said, and I think it's really important. So we're gonna give Steve a chance. But go ahead, Gabe. We got to give him that shout out real quick. Give him that sound bar from me real quick. Give him that powerful message sound bar. Go ahead, Steve. What you got for us? You just let me know something.
Yes. So correct. President Trump was specifically talking about the MS-13. However, keep in mind there is context around it. Again, this is if you look on specifically from his tweets back in April 17th of 2017, or excuse me, April 18th of 2017. Yeah. Yep. He also stated that Obama was also to blame for the MS-13. So it was kind of a bundled statement in terms of the blame on that. So again, for context.
Absolutely, for context. But good stuff. So I appreciate it. So we're gonna take you off the hot seat for a minute. Go ahead, catch your breath. I want to go ahead. I want to bring Anthony onto this, right? So Anthony, you just heard a lot of what he just said. So now my question to you is, it's very clear you're not a fan of Trump. You've made that clear, right? But I want to know something. Is there anything, even if it's one single thing, that you can look at former President Donald Trump's presidency and say it was positive and not say it sarcastically? Like you truly feel that there was at least one thing that he was successful or positive at?
You want me to answer that honestly, right?
Yes, 100%.
You want me to answer that honestly? The one thing I felt positive about that he actually did was working on, and I think he interacted the law for, I think it's the first act. I'm trying to remember the actual name of it, but it was in regards to like reform to the criminal justice system. Like it was small changes, but the most important thing, like it's the first time like I remember like a president really trying to like address like mass incarceration at a federal level. They wanted to make some changes regarding laws and mandatory minimums and felonies and so on and so forth. He wanted to, I'm trying to remember. I think he wanted to change the way the law was from how someone was charged with possession of powder cocaine versus crack cocaine, which really caused a lot of division in like communities of color, because you would get more time for crack cocaine than you would powder, even though they kind of technically one and the same. So that was one of the changes I absolutely definitely remember, like, yeah, that's a plus. It received bipartisan recovery. Everybody agreed on it. It's something that in regards to the criminal justice system that needed a severe and important overhaul. And that's what he really did. Outside of that, there's not much more I can say about that. I mean, other accomplishments I have, but it's kind of weird. Yeah.
So I'm going to follow this up now, okay? Because we have Benny here on the other side. And I think this is really important because you can look him kind of in the eyes, even though we're, through a meeting screen. Mm-hmm. I want you to tell him in the most respectful way, what do you feel that Trump supporters aren't understanding when it comes to that strong dislike and vitriol that one may have towards the former president?
I think it's on both sides. I think the error that a lot of people run into is that they try to make an apples to apple comparison. They believe that if you support Trump, you're racist. I don't think so. I think that it's a kind of Venn diagram kind of thing. There's a circle that supports Trump. There's a circle that's racist, but it's that little intersection right there that becomes problematic because they co-sign some of the things that he does that I find to be out and out patently racist or biased against people of color. And it's so simple and it's so immediate that people just don't pay attention to it. I think that's a problem that you're always going to run into. It's the people that support him virulently without any context or anything else to that degree. And the other thing is, like, I know that Benny brought this up earlier. I get how his appeal is that I'm not a politician. I'm just a guy. I'm an American. I'm like you. I'm sick of everything with all the red tape and nonsense that goes on and the highest levels of government. And we need to do something about it. And that's a message that anybody can get behind. I get it. I really, really do. I do. But there's an importance to being able to have the basis understanding of how to do that job. It's the most powerful position in our country, and you can arguably make it the most powerful position on the planet, since we're, quote unquote, the most powerful nation on this planet, on planet Earth, period. So I'm going to need somebody with a little bit more stick-to-itiveness, some knowledge of the facts, that will surround himself with people that aren't sycophants and yes men that are going to agree with you, because for you to, I guess, bring the country back together, you're going to need to speak to both sides of the fence. and his is just pro-Republican, pro-Trump, and everything else like that. It's the code of personality with him. Like, if you don't agree with his politics, you just kind of, in a very weird way, like him as a person. Like, look, he's brash. He tells it like it is. He speaks his mind. Like, yeah, you can speak your mind. You can be brash. You can tell it like it is. But to be president, it still requires a little bit of nuance to go along with it, because you're speaking to everybody, not just your base. But once you kind of get that, and like I said, his base is still strong, even out of office. Like, I honestly feel like they're trying to gear up for 2024, like to make another run. Like, I want him back in here. And like I said, I named the one thing that I found to be important about what he did, but it's the other things that he's done that I have to just question him. I don't hate him as a person. I just don't like him as a president. Never thought he's fit for the job. It's such a difficult job to do, and it requires a lot of things that require you to be able to be a unifier. Whatever you might say about Barack Obama, he was able to bring certain people together, even the people that really disliked him, that called him a chimpanzee, a congressman who basically called him a liar while he's addressing everybody. When that happened with Donald Trump, he didn't take it away. It was always negativity. I'm going to fight back. I need to say this. It always seemed so petty. So once that happened, it's like, I just don't agree with this. Like, this has to be worked on. And this is a guy that we deem to be president, man. It's kind of an embarrassment. And for the past 4 years, it just kind of felt that way. He's failed at so many different things. It's hard for me to say like he was great at his job. I cannot.
I want to be clear though. I want to be clear because I don't want your words to get misconstrued. Sure. Are you saying the former president played a part in racism?
Hell yeah. Absolutely.
You sure about that?
Yes.
One of our researchers have a speech or some words here that they want to go ahead and share. So Steve, the floor is yours, my man.
So according to a transcript directly from the speech happened infamously with the whole KKK incident, neo-Nazis. That was, the crowd where they were fighting together. So this particular transcript where he is stating the following. And as I've said many times before, no matter the color of our skin, we all live under the same laws. We all salute the same great flag, and we are all made by the same Almighty God. We must love each other, show affection for each other, and unite together in condemnation of hatred, bigotry, and violence. We must rediscover the bonds of love and loyalty and bring us together as Americans. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its names are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and any other hate group that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans. You can find the full transcript on the New York Times where this full speech was made back in August the 14th, 2017.
So with that being said, Anthony, so I think probably the term that we may be looking for on your end, and again, you can jump in because I don't like putting words in people's mouth, is sure. Do you feel that he didn't do enough to stop the racism during his presidency? He didn't reject it enough. Is that kind of where you feel more of, or as opposed to he was flat out blatantly racist, or do you still stand by that he was flat out blatantly racist?
It almost feels like he had to be forced to make that statement that one of your researchers brought up. Your researcher said that was brought up on August 17th, right?
August 17th.
August 17th. And when you get a chance, ask your researcher exactly when the attack in Charlottesville happened. When he gets a chance, I just want to know the timing of it.
Sure.
Because when it started off and everything was according to that, he basically tried to make the point that there are bad people on both sides of the fence.
Yes, he did say that.
Yeah, but I get that, but I didn't see that. I saw a bunch of white men running around in torches, yelling and screaming in Charlottesville. I see a peaceful protest going on and a man just driving through a crowd and killing a young woman. And it's not denounced, it's like the actions themselves should be denounced immediately. Sometimes things are just so obvious, you should say it. If someone asks me what's 1 + 1, I'm going to tell them 2 automatically. I'm not going to say, hold on, let me get back to you. Let me think about that for a second. I just want to see what the feelings is, what the vibes is on the street. It might not be it, but let me just be sure. But the fact, like,
one of our
happens,
researchers want to jump in here. I'm not sure if it's accurate information or false, but let's give him a chance. Go ahead, June.
Just to confirm about the Charlottesville car attack, it was on August 12th of 2017. Yeah, right. But I also, when you're done, I just want to get back to the pro-Trump. I had something to talk about, but I'll wait till you guys finish what you're talking about.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I mean, again, Anthony, thank you. You know, we appreciate that. You gave us some really good topics and some really good information here.
No problem.
Benny, we're going to go back to you here. Okay.
Okay.
But before I do, I want to go ahead. I want you to listen to a clip because the question I'm going to ask you is specifically about, it surrounds a lot of what he says in this clip, which is a lot of, you know, the same thing. So let's go ahead and let's play that clip. Just play 30 seconds of it. You don't have to play the entire clip.
Now, the virus that we're talking about having to do, you know, a lot of people think that goes away in April with the heat, as the heat comes in. Typically, that will go away in April. I've spoken to President Xi. They're getting it more and more under control. So I think that's a problem that's going to go away. But when you have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to zero, that's a pretty good job we've done. It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear. And from our shores, it could get worse before it gets better. It could maybe.
Okay. So, you know where I'm going with this one, because you also specifically said in one of the reasons one of the decisions when you started supporting him was around that time during COVID, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of where you started to get changed over. How do you feel he handled the entire COVID situation from when he shut down the board, right? Shut down China in January, all the way through his presidency, all the way through until Joe Biden took office. I want to hear from you. How do you truly feel that he handled this?
I feel like, from my standpoint of because sometimes it boils down to what we believe personally about COVID.
Sure.
So, you know, we'll kind of like side with what we feel supports that of what we stand for. So around that time, everybody was like trying to figure this thing out, including him. You know, like he was just saying numbers and saying this and that. But I believe there was a time where he was in a press conference and a reporter asked him a question, and he went down and he actually like gave him like a little movie and showed him like, here, just watch this. And it showed a timeline of the times that he, you know, dealt with China, dealt with this, dealt with that, shut down the country, you know, did this. So it was like the news was saying that he wasn't handling it. That's what they wanted us to believe. So like I said, that was around the time that I started listening to these conferences, and I feel like I'm not a conspiracy type of guy, and I know this is not what this is about. It. We're not talking about the vaccine, and we're not talking about COVID. But since it's brought up in the topic, I do honestly feel like COVID is not a normal disease. I honestly feel that it's man-made. Now, I could probably more than likely be wrong because that's just how I feel about it.
Sure.
I also feel like a lot of the numbers were fabricated. It became more political than anything. Okay. It became more of a, you know, I feel like the media was using that a lot to attack him, because if you notice, a lot of times there's always some kind of new disease that comes up around election time. Like I believe, I don't know if it was swine flu or whatever flu came out, and 2000, whenever the last presidency was, and there was something there. It's usually around those election time that something comes out where they're trying to shame one side more than the other. And I feel like COVID is serious. I'm not diminishing the severity of the disease or diminishing the fact that we have had people that passed away from it. But I believe in 2019, there were also numbers of the flu. Deaths were from 25,000 to 62,000, if I'm not wrong, or if I'm correct. And these deaths from the flu were never publicized. We never told our kids they had to come and go to school with masks, And I
want to press you on this real quick, Benny, because I want to make sure that I'm understanding you, because it first sounded as if you were not believing that that COVID is as severe as is being reported. I think then now what I'm hearing is the other side, which is you're saying you believe that it does have some serious effects. However, you feel that it's just similar to just like if someone has the flu. Am I understanding, like, which side of that are you? Do you not feel that it's serious, or do you feel that it is serious? I just want to make that clear for everybody. And Steve, I see you with your hand up, so just give me 1 second. I just want to get this cleared real quick.
I'm somewhere in between that, because if I say that it's not serious, then it feels like I'm kind of making light of the ones that have passed, you know, because I know people personally in my own family, but a lot of these people have the ones that I know that have passed have underlying you know, health conditions. And like I said, I'm not saying like that makes it okay, but these people would have more than likely passed too from just a severe flu. And you know, it is a issue that we're dealing with, but I feel like there's an agenda behind it. I'm a barber, but I cut from home. So when I watch TV, it's usually when I'm cutting hair. And I notice that when I have it on certain channels, there's a lot more pushing the vaccine and mask on certain channels than there are on other channels. And I question that, because when I'm watching regular channels like ESPN or whatever, yeah, they might have like, you know, Chris Paul or somebody come on there and be like, yeah, get the vaccine. But when I got it on Saturday morning on BET, and I'm watching BET, every other commercial is about the mask, the vaccine. So I've always felt like there's an agenda there, and it's always it feels like it's targeting more the minority group. It's serious, but you know, even around in this city.
I have a follow-up for you on this, because I see where you're going. It's kind of back to like where you feel the media is playing a bigger role than in this, just like what you stated, why you became a supporter of him. But I do want to give Steve, and I know Junior also had something also, so I want to give them the floor just really quick. But I do have a very important follow-up.
Okay.
Go ahead, Steve.
So so according to the CDC.gov, again, these are estimates from October 1st, 2019 through April 4th of 2020. There was 39 to 56 million estimated flu illnesses. Of that group, between 18 to 26 million had a medical visit. Within that group of the 39 million of 56 million, 410 to 740,000 were hospitalized, and 24 to 62,000 ended in death.
Okay. And then if we compare that to the percentages for COVID, well, I don't want to put you on the spot. It's okay. Junior, go ahead. You had something from earlier.
I'm still trying to confirm.
Okay, you're still confirming. Okay, perfectly fine. Yeah. So while I want to ask a question, I think this is really important, especially because I know this specific topic, and something that Benny just said, I think has Anthony itching really bad to kind of share, because Anthony knows firsthand regarding COVID, and I want to give him the floor with the chance to respectfully respond to the impacts of COVID and how serious COVID can be. So Anthony, go ahead. I'm going to give you 2 minutes if that's okay, just because we're running close here to a break. I want to make sure we get this break in.
I understand the importance of safety, of mask mandates, of social distancing, because I did all that. I kept my distance. I stayed 6 feet apart. I wore gloves, wore a mask, did everything you can ask for. But I caught COVID, and I had double pneumonia. And I went to the hospital, and my oxygen levels were, 60%? When I went in there, they were about 50. I went in there, and I went to sleep one night, and I died. And it ain't like what you see in the movies. It ain't immediate. Your eyes close, your body chills, your brain works. I heard that machine flatline. I heard them run in there and try to save my life, which they did, and I'm thankful for. So when people call it a hoax or it's not real, I know firsthand, getting it from beginning to end, even as safe as I was trying to be, it still happened. And there are families, there are people who will never get their loved ones back, who will never get a chance to tell them goodbye, or tell them that I love you, or tell them anything, because they're trapped in a hospital by themselves. I was in that room by myself. So if that would have been it, that would have been it. I couldn't have told the people I love, I wish I could see you again, because there was no guarantee I was going to get out of that room. Do I blame President Trump? Not necessarily. It's not his fault. I think when people like always mention the SARS COVID virus, the thing is that it's based upon SARS. This is COVID-2. COVID-1 was, I think, in 2002 or 2003. And like I said, viruses mutate. They go from one thing to another. This one became more violent, more dangerous towards us. When we end up with these results, could he have handled this better? Yeah. I think him basically saying, like, we're not going to worry about masks. This is just going to blow over. When it's becoming a health crisis all over the world, we're not special. This is all one big planet. We all share all our thoughts, our time, our dreams, with people of all races, creeds, and colors. We spend time with those people in our offices, in our homes, within our lives. So when people say, like, no, he did the best he could. No, he could have did better. If you just stopped this country for just a smooth 2 months, we probably could have been past it. Just everyone just stay home, let this die out. But no, he kept pushing forward. We're gonna be fine. Go out, do what you got to do. It's gonna be fine. It'll blow over. We are going on almost a year plus later, and it's still going on. It's mutated. It's becoming something more virulent, and people are still dying. Do I blame him for those deaths? Not all of them. That's unfair. I cannot put that upon one man. But if you're supposed to be our leader, you're supposed to have the country's best interests at heart. And at the time, he did not. And that's why these hundreds of thousands of people have died, that will never go home again, that will never see their families again, and will never be able to enjoy the freedoms that we're supposed to have as a country, because our leader decided to go a completely different route. And this is the price that we have to pay. That's all.
Can I say something on that?
Absolutely, by all means, go ahead.
Okay.
I think it's important.
Sure. So I wanted to first and foremost say that I'm glad that you made it, out of that. And obviously, I believe that there's obviously a purpose for your life if you made it out of that, man. So I'm glad that you're here with us, man.
Thank you.
I just the thing about COVID too is that it's not something that can just be shared from one side, because it's something that we're all dealing with. We're feeling the effects of it, whether it's firsthand, job wise, because
Mhm.
my whole family, had caught COVID too around November. So we felt, that Thanksgiving was canceled,
Mhm.
it was, we took care of it at home. We didn't go to the hospital, even with the issues of breathing and the issues that we had with this, my wife was in bed for 2-3 weeks. So, we felt the effects of it, not to the extent that you did. So,
Yes,
but I'm not making any comparisons at all.
No. I understand.
I feel like for something that has a 99, we could almost say 100% survival rate, 99.7 whatever, survival rate, to tell our kids to, me working in a school, I see firsthand, even with the working with the city and all that, I see firsthand, like, these kids weren't wearing their mask properly, and even when they were told to, and they were enforced to, a lot of these masks that they brought in were dirtier than the air that they would be breathing. They would, they're forced to sit there covering their mouth, breathing their own filth, breathing the spit that they've been putting on these masks. And that, to me, is more detrimental to our health, because our immune system is naturally designed to fight these things off. And when we keep continually telling them with fear mongering in the media to sanitize your hands every 2 seconds, wash your hands every 5 minutes, those aren't exact numbers, but that's how people took it. Because I myself, my hands at one point in time were, because I was listening to all this stuff, like, oh my God, CDC saying we got to hop on 1 foot. So now we got to hop on 1 foot. That's how everybody is taking it, even to this day. My hands were so dry and raw from sanitizing and washing every 2 minutes, and just living in that fear. So when I go out in public, I don't necessarily wear a mask, not because I just don't care, or not because I didn't feel the effect of it firsthand or secondhand with people that we've dealt in our family. But it's basically because personally, I believe that our immune system was designed to fight this thing off. And if we surround ourselves with bleach and surround ourselves with sanitizing and just keep a mask, 24/7 of the day, we're weakening that immune system, and it really can affect us in the long run, to when something's more serious, like this Delta, virus, whatever's coming up, it's, our immune system is not going to be in that same fight, because I feel like over this time with all these mandates that they've given us, which oh man, I'm gonna stop there.
Benny. It's okay. It's all right, Benny. We are gonna head to commercial, but before we do, there's just something you said. I believe it was 99.7 survival rate, right? In the U.S. only, according to John Hopkins database. Steve, you have some data for us on that.
Yeah. So according to John Hopkins, so the mortality rate as tracked today, just within the United States, is at 1.7% of who caught it. However, when you look at the recent tracking, again, this is according to CDC now. So CDC reports 36.4 million cases total. And right now they're logging, just within the past 30 days, this is just 30 days of data, 617,000 deaths so far. So just to give you context.
Okay.
Perfect. So this is some good stuff. I mean, I have a ton of questions that I want to ask. We're running tight on time. I think we're going to stay on this topic though when we come back. I think this is really important. This touched the nerve, on Anthony's side, and I want to keep this going because this is taking us to where we want. The uncomfortable, making each other a little uncomfortable, but also being real, which is huge. So we're going to go on break real quick, and then we will return shortly.
Hear You Out podcast isn't done yet, but bills need to be paid. So we'll be right back. Don't you dare leave.
Hey, it's Izzy from Mom and Pop Scent Shop, where we offer a safe alternative to candles through wax and warmers that provide long-lasting fragrances minus the flame, soot, smoke, and toxins. Our warmers are backed by a lifetime warranty against electrical and manufacturer defects, and our wax is like no other. The best part? You can get most of our products for free and half price. Just ask me how. 863-257-8818. But don't take my word for it. Here's Ashley.
Scentsi's wax warmers are so cute. There's literally something for everyone, and their wax bars last longer than any other brand I've tried.
Yo, what's going on, Ant?
What's going on?
I want to invite the Hear You Out audience to hear us out on The Culture. We'll dive into hip-hop news, music, current events, new episodes every Monday morning. Check us out. Peace and love.
Peace.
Yo.
They represent a culture.
You can represent like this.
The Culture Podcast.
All right. Thank you for coming back. And yes, please, by all means, listen to that podcast, The Culture. Actually, there's a man on the show that's part of that podcast. Anthony, make sure you listen in. Anthony, how often do you guys release that show? It's weekly, right? Every Monday?
Every Monday. Once a week. Every Monday. Yes, sir.
I love it. I love the, the topics that they go over. Please make sure you all go ahead and listen. And yeah, if you want some smell goods, if you want your house smelling good, and listen, this isn't just for gentlemen. And I mean, this is just for ladies. Gentlemen, if you want to make the lady happy, look into purchasing some smell goods. Mom and Pop Scentsy Shop. Make sure you check them out. They are legit. They are real. They give you good stuff. And guess what? It's healthy. It's good. It's good stuff. Take a look at it. I guarantee you'll love it. All right. So we were just before we went to break, right? We got into the COVID topic and how President, Donald Trump handled it. But Benny, I asked you, oh, wow. I literally haven't even had them speak, and I already got somebody raising their hand. My researcher wastes no time. Are you gonna Are you gonna correct me? Do I need to hit a buzzer, like a make a noise?
Nah, you good.
Okay.
You spelled Scentsi's wrong.
I like that. In the last segment, Benny has said about that our immune system was pretty much built to fight off COVID, something of that sort, right? Well, from the CDC, it's important to know that a strong immune system will not prevent you from contracting COVID. The virus that causes COVID is a novel pathogen, meaning that those who contract it have no existing antibody to defend it. So basically, our immune system will not, just our immune system alone will not protect us from COVID.
No, I wasn't saying like a prevention. I was saying more to fight it off if we do contract it. It wasn't like we're like.
Well, it's more of the same thing because we can't fight it off, so we can't prevent from getting it.
Oh, where's this from?
You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
CDC.
I see. Yeah.
CDC.
You see what I'm trying to say? So if we can't fight it off, we can't prevent it, or vice versa. It works both ways.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Good stuff.
Cool.
Good stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So I want to, Benny, I kind of want to press on something because I didn't get a direct answer about this one, and I really think this is important, right? So we played a clip of the former president stating it was going to go away. It was going to go away. The first one, the first comment when he said there are people saying that it'll be gone by April, right? That wasn't him saying it. He's saying there are people saying it. So I'm not. To me, that's not him. He's going by what his experts are telling him. But what I want to talk about is the other times where he said it's going to be summertime and it's going to go away. And do you feel he underestimated this COVID virus? Or B, the other question that I can ask you is, if you're going to say no, he didn't, underestimate it, do you feel then that he kind of downplayed it? Or if not, what do you feel he did specifically to when he was saying that it would be gone, it would go away? I think even after, while he was running for president, he said once the election period was over, that COVID was going to disappear. As we see, currently it hasn't. So I really think that that's important for everybody to know your stance on how he handled that.
I feel like in that time, because of how early and premature it was in the time that COVID came out, a lot of us were just going by what we thought, all right, so I can't speak for the man. I don't know his mind, but I feel like, I think to answer it directly, I feel he handled it the best that he could for the time that he did. Now that we know more about this virus, I feel like now we know that this isn't going to go away. This isn't something that's just going to be like 3 months of quarantine and that's it. Nobody's going to have it anymore. It's obviously it's something that we're going to deal with, probably for the rest of our lives. And I just don't feel that to put, economically, to put people that are struggling to put food on the table because they have a business and they don't work the 9 to 5. They work, the business that they had a dream to open. And now that business is put in jeopardy because, we're forced to close down everything, close down the country, do all this stuff. I just feel like I said, a lot of this is opinion based, but I really feel like it's an agenda behind it. Even with the vaccine, I feel like there's an agenda behind that of why all of a sudden there's spikes and, they're reporting more cases. And it's just, to me personally, I feel like they're pushing the vaccine.
So even after he's gone, now you feel the focus is now no longer Donald Trump did wrong. Now the focus is push the vaccine, which that leads me into a really good segue. Anthony, this question is specifically for you. After all that you've been through and the risks and, just God bless you, my man. What I know about you. Do you feel that vaccines should be mandated? Well, however you feel, please explain on that. You got 2 minutes on that.
No, they shouldn't be mandated. I think what we're based upon as a country is the idea of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We have certain inalienable rights that allow us to make these decisions with free will, free mind, free choice, so on and so forth. Do I believe that it should be mandated? Not for everyone. I think that if you're in a particular field, sure. Like if you work specifically in hospitals, you work specifically in healthcare, well, like you're on the front line of these things. Like we need you guys as healthy as possible to keep fighting this. We can't afford to lose more soldiers in this battle. But do I think people should be like it's do this or else? No, because it violates a basic freedom that we have. You have the freedom of choice. You have the ability to make the certain decision that you have to do. For me, it works for me. Am I going to push it upon someone else? Absolutely not. That's your body, your choice. But if you're going to not take the vaccine, I advise you to listen to not what politicians say, listen to what science says. If they say, keep a distance, wear a mask, follow the mandates to a T. Like I said, people I'm getting tired of wearing a mask after all this time, but I'm not going to worry about it. Am I vaccinated? Absolutely. Because like I said, it's not going to guarantee that I won't catch the virus. I'm all right with that. This guarantees that, I won't be severely sick or die, which is a plus to me because I've already tried that and I'd rather not try that again. Cool. But should it be mandated? No. It's your body, your choice. You should be allowed. And if you feel uncomfortable, you feel that the science isn't there to a point where you feel comfortable with it, sure. But understand that your actions have certain consequences. I'm taking the virus. I don't know what the consequences that's going to be, but it makes me feel comfortable now. If you don't want to take the virus now, there's consequences going to come with that. I don't know how that's going to work out for you, but something will come of it. I just want everybody to be safe and healthy, follow the mandates so we can try to get through this together. But for me, in regards to being absolutely sure that everybody should get it, because of the way we design the Constitution, that we design the laws, it's your body, your choice. If you choose not to, I completely understand.
Yep. So I'm going to follow this up. I'm going to have 2 more questions for each of you. Anthony, I'm going to stay with you here, okay? Because you also then mentioned about masks. You say you feel vaccines should not be mandated. Okay, that's great. So for those that are not vaccinated, do you feel there should be a mandate that they wear masks?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things when you walk into, I remember going into certain stores, like a convenience store, so on and so forth. They have a sign on the door that says no shirt, no shoes, no service. Got it. Like, these are things that we are designated that you have to do if you want to receive service here. I think that it's a very nuanced line that you're going to fight against, because if you have people that are vaccinated and then those that don't, you're creating a real have or have not conversation. So those that are vaccinated, you're almost implying that you are allowed to have the freedoms that everybody should have. Like New York, for instance, they have a mandate now that if you're not vaccinated, you cannot go into a restaurant, you cannot go into a gym, you cannot basically go into any kind of open space if you don't show proof of vaccination. I personally have something wrong with that, because that's a violation of our basic freedoms. You should be able to allow people to enter these places no matter what, because you were doing it before, right? But that's what happened.
I'm sorry. I think that's somebody just speaking truths. We don't want to violate anybody's freedoms. We don't want to violate anybody's rights. So if Anthony's feeling that it shouldn't be mandated, this is coming from a person who's been through it, who's been through the ringer, saying that. Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. So I'm going to kind of go ahead. I want to go back to you here really quick, Benny, and I want you just to go ahead and this one is. I have to give you a time limit, but I know it's probably you're gonna want to run over, and if you do, then we'll figure it out. My producer, he'll kill me later on. But when it comes to the January 6th and what happened at the Capitol, I want to know your honest opinion. Number one, did Vice President Mike Pence do the right thing by not objecting to the election? We all know, according to the way things work, there was nothing he could have really done, but he didn't even speak up. He did nothing, right? And there was a riot that occurred. So this is a two-part question. Did he do enough? And then secondly, do you feel that Donald Trump won the presidency?
All right.
Uncomfortable. So, guess what? You know it's coming.
Yeah. All right. So the first part, do I feel that Trump did enough during that time?
I'm sorry,
Vice President.
Did Mike Pence do enough on
January 6th? I feel like Mike Pence did what was necessary for him to do. I think he kind of knew that it was coming to an end, and that things were going to kind of shift to the other side. So I have no ill will towards Mike Pence and his decision of not objecting. I will say this though, I think that Trump in that time could have done, as a president, been a little bit more responsible with what was happening in that time, as far as speaking out, not just against it while it was going on, but the speech that he gave before. It was like, I'm going with you, we're going to the Capitol, we're gonna tell them that we won or whatever. And then he ended up just going back to the White House, like it wasn't, he wasn't marching with them. Yeah. So I feel like that was very irresponsible on that side of it. Like I said, I'm not one of these delusional guys that be like everything he does is correct, but I just I do feel on that part. Now, as far as the presidency, I felt like out of all the times that since I've been 18 and been eligible to vote, this time around was just a little sketchy, even out here. I live in a city where it's predominantly very Democratic. Our mayor's Democratic. It's pretty much blue, out here. I felt it was just very sketchy, the whole thing with the IDs, the way they were making it seem like Biden was saying like, we don't need IDs to vote, and pretty much making it sound like that if you lived in a minority area, that these people don't have access to IDs or computers, or making it sound like
he's speaking about when he mentioned about minorities not having access to IDs. That you're talking about? Speaking about that comment. Okay, my researchers looked at that specific quote up. I think that's important to get clarification. I know exactly what you're speaking on. I know exactly.
So I just felt like it was a little shady. I felt like out of nowhere, you look at the numbers of his conferences, and like 5 people there, and all of a sudden he got millions of people that voted. That just these votes that just started coming through. Now, I'm not going to go in to say that they use dead people. I don't know. I just felt like to check the validity of these machines that they were using, there was just a lot of pushback, and it just felt like, like something
I have to jump in on this one, Benny. I do have to jump in on this one just for a fact correction. So let's go ahead and go. I think it's really important because the restrictions that Biden had for his campaign when he was out in campaigning, as opposed to the restrictions that Trump had, would definitely have an impact on how many people actually showed up to these campaigns, right? So I'm not saying that what you're not correct in the statement of, could there have been more people? Sure. But just keep in mind that each of them had different restrictions in regards to what they were comfortable with having. But with that said, go ahead and continue.
Sure. Yeah. No, I looked into that too. So I wasn't like just leaning more on that side, but I felt like just a lot of this, like I said, I'm not too knowledgeable of how these votes work, and as far as like what decides these actual things. So like I said, I'm not political when it comes to these things. Like, I'm not a very political person,
and we don't want to get into the weeds on that here, so that's okay. That's perfectly
right.
Fine.
So but I do feel like, with the amount of people, and maybe I'm just looking at it from my perspective, that once I started looking at it from that side, that's all I was seeing. That could be a fact too, but I just felt like there was more people that actually did vote for Trump. But it is what it is.
Okay.
We made it
in your
through
mind,
all these years.
In your mind, that's the election was not a free and fair election. Perfectly. If that's how you feel. That's how you feel.
Yeah.
Okay. Anthony, I'm going to give you a minute here to rebuttal, and then we're going to close it out with a final question for each of you.
Okay. What would you like me to rebuttal? Everything, or just part of it?
The part about he felt it wasn't a free and fair election. If you disagree, which I think I know where you stand on that, but
I disagree, and I think the problem is this: if you won, if I could see there were some issues with the popular vote, which he lost.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't win a majority of states, there were states that were never blue that turned because they just wanted to make a change. Sure, I get that, but the biggest problem is, it continues to be and always will be this: the fact that you constantly continue to question the results of the election. After every court that you've gone to has basically said this is not valid, and then you say like the courts are wrong. What you're trying to do is upend our legal system. You're trying to say that because you didn't pick me, the law is wrong. When you go even further than that and think about it more and more and more, and to keep constantly going about this, even though there's absolute proof, like I said, we're not going to talk numbers. We're going to just talk like I said, the Supreme Courts of certain states have done so. The popular vote he lost, everything says that you did not win. You keep pressing that narrative, and then people are following through with that. You're undermining our democracy. What makes us quote unquote great is that we have the ability to choose our leaders without any kind of bias or any kind of coercion. Direct coercion. Indirect, you have your election ads and so on and so forth. But the choice is still yours. Once you get to the point where you say you're going to take when you're saying that these results are incorrect, you're basically saying that not only is the law wrong, even though they disagree, you're saying that democracy is wrong. The system that we base our entire country upon, because it didn't work for you, it's incorrect. And once you do that, it sets a very dangerous precedent that leads to things like what happened on January 6th. So do I think that he lost? Yes, he lost fair and square. Is he a sore loser? It's starting to seem like it. And like I said, the danger of everything about that is that you're undermining what makes us great. And if that continues, we're going to have a bigger problem than this COVID thing, but that's for another time.
Okay. Benny, you had your hand up really quick. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, real quick. The reason I don't have too much faith in, and I love our freedom that we have in this country and the fact that we do have a democracy, but the reason I don't have too much faith in that and believe that the law and the way that we deal with things legally is 100% is because we have, and it's been proven, have falsely incarcerated people, based off of our democracy, based off of our freedom to be able to be like, we got a jury, let the people decide, boom, boom, boom. And then out of nowhere, we got somebody that served 20 something years for a crime that they never even committed. And then it's been proven later on once their life was stripped. So that's why I don't put 100% trust in this whole system. Do I love it that we have the freedom? Yeah. Am I one of those sore losers that said, oh, we won, I never posted anything. We won the election. I just felt like it was unfair at the time. Biden won. Cool. I moved on. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Let's get on with it. So that's all I wanted to say about that right there.
Sure. Man, there's so much more I really want to get into. I think I'm going to bring you guys back at some point because I'm serious, because there's a question here that Steve has, and it's really a good one. And I had it on my list, which is about the voting laws that were changed just prior to the election. I think that's important, right? And Anthony, that would be a question specifically I think that we can direct towards you, because that's kind of a lot of where Trump was angling and saying, hey, this isn't fair. We changed things just prior to, and kind of having those conversations. It's not a conversation for today. But I would love to, down the road, I would love to bring you two back, because this is really good stuff.
You okay with that,
I do want to end it with you two. Yeah.
Yeah. That's Benny. He's all right with that.
Oh yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah, this is great. Man. I love this.
Yes, sir.
So here's my question, guys. Just for the both of you, 30 seconds each. Where do we go from here? What do you want to tell the people about having civilized conversations, about being able to hear each other out and really see where the other side is coming from? I think it's just you two I want to know, and then I'll let you two go. And, by all means, again, I really appreciate everything that you did, but really tell everyone, where do we go from here? How do we move forward, even though we don't necessarily agree on things? And I'll let Benny go ahead. I'll let you start it off, and then Anthony, you close us out.
30 seconds. That's gonna be tough, but I'm gonna try my best.
Okay, a minute. You can do it in 2 minutes. I'll give you 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. So I feel like it's super important that we see point of view, perspective. For me personally, just as an example, I was raised in a good home, 2 parents. So I went to school with certain kids that would come to school angry and didn't understand that not everybody had the same life that I had. I didn't see things the way until later on in life. I started seeing like, wow. It has a lot to do with the way we see things, the way we have, what shapes our opinions. So yeah, there's always 2 sides to everything, and it's important to have these healthy conversations so that we can move on as a country together. Because at the end of the day, it's me personally, like my belief in God. I don't believe God takes sides. I believe God takes over. So to be honest with you, it's not about the left or the right. It's about, at the end of the day, we got to come together as people. I still got a minute.
Yeah, you do. Go ahead, man. You keep going. You just said something real powerful. I love that.
Cool. And so I feel like to move on, we have to see each other's point of view, respect each other's feelings, because feelings are there for a reason. I always have that conversation with my wife. Give each other space. We're mad at something. We're mad at each other. There's a reason for that. We have a feeling about something. So it's based off a fact for you. The fact might not be true at the end of the day, but that's why we come together and communicate. So this whole thing, yeah, there's been a lot of fire on both sides, like, firing darts and arrows at each other. But I feel like at the end of the day, the only solution that we have through all of this political nonsense is love, man. Love is the cure for all things, so I'll leave that there.
Political nonsense. I like that. Give me another one, Gabe. Go ahead, Gabe. Give me another one. Political nonsense.
All right,
so,
relax.
Relax. Anthony,
calm down.
You're up now. Go ahead.
Calm down.
The thing that you always want to remember is that, with politics in this country, you're either going to go left or you're going to go right. But in your everyday life, we don't really work in those kind of extreme manners. We work in various shades of gray. Even if you can love someone with all your heart and they can do something that will disappoint you. So it's never going to be, it's always going to be love or hate or love or hate. We don't have to have it so separate like that. We have to kind of work in that gray. We have to work in those uncomfortable spaces. We have to work in that middle. Because even if Benny doesn't see things my way and I don't see things his way, the most important thing is that we're having these conversations here just to make sure I make my point clear. And hopefully I get something from him and he gets something from me. Even at the end, I still stand where I stand and he stands where he stands. That's okay, because we sat down, we had a civil conversation, we got these words out to each other. And even though it might be uncomfortable, you might not want to say it, but you have to. I implore you to have these discussions with people that you have and need desperately to have these conversations with, because that is the only way we can bridge that gap. We cannot sit in our own corners and our own little fiefdom saying that what I'm doing is right and what you're doing is wrong. We cannot do that. We're humans. We have to accept that there's a balance, that we have to reach out to each other, as hard as it might be, just to say, I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know why you do what you do, but let's sit here and let's talk about this and let's see if we can just find something that we can agree upon. And like I said, Benny's correct. The best thing to do is lead with love. Even if we disagree upon that, I still love you. You still love me. Everything's fine in regards to that. And maybe we can use that to build upon something. But this divisiveness is only going to tear us apart. We need more. Learn to love one another.
Absolutely. Truly, thank you so much for taking the time out today. You all really gave us something good. And I really do want to have you back on, because there's so much more I want to discuss. There's so much more really to go in depth. But again, thank you so much. So, let's give it up. Let's give it up one more time for Anthony and Benny.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Really appreciate y'all. All right, so that was Anthony. That was Benny. A really good topic to start off the Hear You Out podcast. What we're all about. All opinions are heard. Every single one of them, no matter how outlandish, no matter how much you agree, disagree, everyone has a voice here. I'm going to just really quick go around the circle, a minute each, because, we're way over time and my producer is absolutely going to strangle me. So I'm going to let my producer go first to kind of tell us, how'd you feel about it?
No, yeah. I definitely understand the two sides now. I don't really know about politics much, but I can see where the disagreements can happen and everything like that. And you guys definitely helped me understand a little bit more. So I definitely appreciate you guys coming on, explaining your sides, everything like that.
June, what you got for us?
Man, I think it was a great show. I think that for the viewers, especially the people that are interested in, the left and the right wing, I think it's going to be a quite interesting. I can't wait to see the comments and the views and stuff, what people have to say about this, because it's going to be quite interesting. But overall, I think it was a pretty good show. Definitely.
Absolutely. Steve, what you got?
Yeah, this was a great first show. Great topics, great points made on both sides. I for the viewers, if you liked what you heard, it's only going to get deeper and much more intense as more topics come along. So enjoy the ride.
I got to get better on my entrance and exit, man.
No, but on a
this is going to be the.
At the end of the day, it's really about getting down to the nitty gritty, right? Having that uncomfortable conversation. You saw I asked Benny, a couple questions there that made him uncomfortable. Benny made a statement that really hit Anthony hard. It hit, and for those of you that can't see the camera, I can tell you right now, Anthony went off camera for a good 60 seconds or so during the COVID conversation, because that hit him in a place where it was, you could just tell it was personal. He had to gather himself. He had to really take time to really think how he was going to respond. But this is what the show is. This is real. This is raw. None of these gentlemen knew what we were asking them prior to getting on here. And that was purposely, because I didn't want it to be, for a chance for someone to research and give me the politically correct answer. No, I want you to give me the answer that's in your heart. I want you to give me the answer that you truly feel. And that's how I want my viewers and my listeners to really listen and say, you know what, this is real. I've always said this, I will never cancel someone out for their opinion. Whether I agree, whether I disagree, they will not be canceled out on this show. I absolutely will not do that. So again, thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. Make sure you go ahead, you check us out on our website. And again, everybody, make sure all opinions are heard and tune in, because this is just the beginning. We have so many more topics, so much more frustration, so much more that's coming through this pipeline. This is just the beginning. Thank you all for tuning in to the Hear You Out podcast. This is Jesus signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hear You Out podcast, where every opinion is heard and never judged. If you like the show, make sure to subscribe and leave us a comment. If you really want more opinions, follow us on Facebook at Hear You Out Podcast, on Instagram and Twitter at Hear You Out Pod. Want us to cover a specific topic? Send us a message on our site at hearyououtpodcast.com or email us at contactus@hearyououtpodcast.com. Until next time, remember, you don't have to agree on everything to coexist.